It is 4:30 on Thursday, March 26, 2026, and I call this meeting of the Meridian Historic Preservation Commission to order. Roll call. Commissioner Johnston's here. Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
Commissioner Monum.
Here.
Commissioner Giacomo.
Here.
Commissioner Giddings.
Here.
Commissioner Freeze.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson is not here. Adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move we adopt the agenda.
I second that.
Motion by Commissioner Giddings, second by Commissioner Freeze for adoption of the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Approval of our minutes of our February 26th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the meeting minutes from our February 26th meeting.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Freeze, second by Commissioner Giddings for adoption of our approval of our minutes from February 26th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We will go on to new business. Presentation, Oregon California Trails Association. Jerry, you're up. Of course. We don't mess around here.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Let's get started then. It's not doing anything. Okay, come on. There we go. So this is a little bit about me. I'm president of the Idaho chapter of the Oregon California Trails Association, which I'm here to talk about today. And most important thing is the website, idahoocta.org. I've been doing Oregon Trail work for over 30 years. I've got an extensive immigrant diary collection of over 2,700 accounts of people that traveled in Idaho. I do a lot of speaking. I'm an author, tour guide, create videos. I created the Main Oregon Trail Backcountry Byway Guide and helped the NPS with their Idaho Oregon Trail Guide. I received some awards, and enough of that. Let's get on to the good stuff. So this is a map of the Oregon National Historic Trail. As you can see, it goes through Boise, and about 50,000 people traveled that trail. California Trail does not come this far west in Idaho, but it also cut through southeastern Idaho. And there were about 5 times as many people that traveled that route. So the Oregon California Trails Association is the largest volunteer organization in the country, dedicated to protecting the legacy of historic immigrant trails by promoting research, education, preservation, public awareness, and collaboration. That's straight off the OCTA National website. I couldn't make up anything of those fancy words. So they have a website. They produce the best magazine dedicated to immigrant trails called the Overland Journal. And if you join OCTA, you can get back issues of that online. They have national conventions and symposiums in the spring. You can get online immigrant diaries. They have some research tools and, of course, quarterly newsletter and a YouTube channel. So speaking of the YouTube channel, these are the 3 most popular videos. The one on grave dogs is one I did. So I need you to all go out and look at that and pass it on to your friends, because I want to move up to number 2. There's a lot of videos that I've done on Idaho, and they're all, I think, very interesting. So go out and check those out as well. A couple of the most interesting ones are, I do an annual Model A car tour of the Oregon Trail. And the first one is the top one there, and it was fascinating to have 12 Model A's and 1 Model T following me down the dirt roads of Elmore County. And last year we had the Elmore County Sheriff with us, and they filmed it and put it together to the tune of Hot Rod Lincoln. So I mentioned that OCTA has annual conventions. They're usually in August or September. The Idaho chapter hosted in 2008, in Nampa, 2016 in Fort Hall, and in 2027 we'll be hosting in Burley. And you can guess who the convention chairman is. So we have speakers and do presentations. There's auctions, both silent and live. We have awards and recognition. And there's a national membership meeting, raffle and book room where you can bid on stuff and buy books. You get all these rut nuts together and they want to collect all these books. So books are a big item there. There's tours both before the convention and after the convention. There's also bus tours during the convention. And you load up a bus with 50 people that want to go out and see the ruts out in the desert. And it's crazy. Get these buses back out there in the dust. And you tell the people to walk out to a certain marker and they don't stop. They just keep on going. Also have, quote, fine dining. And we usually have a closing barbecue. When we were at Fort Hall in 2016, we had a trapper rendezvous set up with some reenactors, and that was fascinating. We're not going to have anything that extensive at Burley. So let's talk about the Idaho chapter now. We are one of 11 regional or state chapters, and we work with the BLM, the National Park Service, various cities, towns, and historical societies with the intent to go out and enjoy, explore, map, mark, and preserve the immigrant trails across Idaho. What I get out of it is there's a lot of friends. I lead a lot of outings and tours. We have 2 meetings a year. We do some exploring. Occasionally we go out and mark the trail and map the trail. And we have an excellent newsletter. It comes out 3 or 4 times a year. And then, of course, presentations. I end up doing probably 6 to 10 presentations a year. Our website is idahoocta.org. There will be a quiz later, so you might want to write that down. It has a calendar of upcoming events, past issues of our newsletter, some of the Overland Journal articles I've written on Idaho, as well as some maps and driving guides. This is the website. If you go to the tab where it says Idaho Routes and go underneath there, you can find all sorts of interesting information. One of the things that I like to do is to investigate massacre sites. I've got one that I've found that there was really no information about, and one that I have information about that I'm trying to find the burial site of. But you can see all the stuff on those in the articles I've written. So our outings sometimes are way back in the boonies, and they're always a lot of fun. They're often very dusty. And it's usually in the desert because there's not too many places that the Oregon Trail went where it's pretty, except on the Fort Hall Reservation. This is the annual byway tour. I've been doing that for at least 15 years now, and it's a really good time. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the future. This is the first of the Model A tours. This was out at the Mayfield site, and it really was neat to have that many cars. This is our newsletter. And we go out and all the little red dots on the map indicate where new markers are installed. So recent things that we've been working on, and by recent, I mean within the last 10 or 12 years, because some of these projects take many, many years to complete. So we did the Main Oregon Trail Backcountry Byway. You can get the booklet at BLM offices in Boise, Through Allen Crossing State Park, and other places. This has proven to be the most popular byway that the BLM has. A lot of 4th grade teachers use that booklet for their 4th grade Oregon Trail classes. The Canyon Creek Stage Station restoration, I'll show you some pictures on that in a minute. A year and a half ago, we put in some signs at the old Fort Boise site down on the Snake River. And we also put in some signs last year over in eastern Idaho on Lane's grave on the Lander Road. A couple of weeks ago in the cold freezing wind, we were out at Birch Creek cleaning up some stuff. And over at Keeney Pass, if you've ever been to the interpretive site south of Vail on Lytle Boulevard, it is worn out. You can't read any of the signs, so we're doing a big project to redo that. Of course, we're involved in all of the various power projects across the state. Power lines are everywhere. Solar, wind turbine, and geothermal projects are popping up faster than we can keep ahead of them. I'm currently working with ITD and the Idaho State Historical Society. We're replacing all of the big map board signs, historical marker signs that you see on the highway. So anything that's dealing with one of the trails in Idaho, I'm involved in that. The fun thing is we do a lot of cadaver dog grave verifications. I've got 4 cadaver dog handlers, and every time we find a grave somewhere, we take them out. And it's really fun to watch those dogs work. And we're also working regularly with City of Rocks, assisting their archaeologists. We've got a big outing planned for this May. They just purchased the center portion of the park that was formerly private land. We're going to help the archaeologists map that out with cadaver dogs and metal detectors. So this is Canyon Creek. It's kind of an oasis in the desert. Up on the bluff above there is just sagebrush and cheatgrass. Down in the valley, it's a very lush area. This is the old stage station. This is Archibald Daniel. He was a station keeper there starting in the late 1870s. Unfortunately, this is what the stage station looked like about 10 or 12 years ago. It was falling apart. I was friends with the owners, and they came to me and wanted to find a way to preserve what was left of that station. So with the help of the Idaho Heritage Trust, we worked out a deal with the landowners to give the land to the BLM, and BLM and IHT and the Idaho chapter have funded the restoration. So that's what it looks like now. So I'm sure you guys can appreciate that.
Mhm.
It's fascinating. We're still looking to get money to do the windows and the doors. And it's kind of a problem because BLM can't find 3 companies to get bids to make windows of that era. So what's in the Oregon Trail in the Boise area? You got the Ada County Oregon Trail Recreation Area out on Highway 21, just south of the river. That's got some nice ruts out there. You've got the Oregon Trail Reserve, which is across Highway 21 along the bluff. And to be honest, it's really not Oregon Trail ruts. Those are Kelton Road ruts. But they like to call it Oregon Trail Reserve because it sounds better than Kelton Road Reserve. You've got the Oregon Trail subdivision. You may remember it burned many years ago and exposed a ramp down the hill. That also is Kelton Road ruts, not Oregon Trail ruts. You've got meeker markers. This is a picture of the one on the state capitol grounds. There's a small one at the corner of Boise Avenue and Broadway. But since you guys are in Meridian, what do you have in Meridian for the Oregon Trail? Well, you've got the Staples Monument. Are you familiar with it? Eagle Road and Chinden. That was put in what, 2008 for the NAMPA convention. And then something you may not know about is a guy named Clark Johnson lives at the end of Meridian Road down on the river bottom. He has a ramp in his backyard that goes up the hill. As the wagons would go across along the south side of the Boise River, they often went out into the flatland to camp and graze their animals in the grass. At that point, the river comes over against the south bluff. So they had to go back up on top. Rather than backing up a couple miles to where they'd come into that area, they made a ramp that climbs up that grade. So that's a pretty interesting site there. So this is a picture of his area. You can see where I've got Clark Johnson on the old survey map. That's about where his house is as the river's swinging over. So upcoming chapter activities, we've got the annual byway tour on April 18th. We got the City Rocks activities on the 21st and 22nd of May and the spring chapter meeting 23rd of May. So the annual byway tour is a caravan tour that I lead. We go from east of Mountain Home and we follow the Oregon Trail on paved and gravel roads back to usually Mayfield is where we end up at, the old Mayfield town site. And it starts at 8:45 on Saturday, April 18th, and everyone is welcome to attend. One of the highlights is we have a potluck lunch at Sweet Briar Winery. Everybody has to pay $5 to the winery. They provide the burgers, the hot dogs and brats, as well as the buns and condiments. Everyone else brings a side dish and/or dessert, your own drinks. If it's a nice day, we'll sit in the back lawn out in the sun. It's a beautiful setting, really nice. And you can buy wine. They make really good wine for being in the desert. So if you're interested in joining that, come meet me at 8:45 at the Sinclair truck stop out at the Eisenman Road. We'll go to Mountain Home, pick up new people. If you're interested in becoming a member of OCTA in the Idaho chapter, you can call Kathy at headquarters and tell her I sent you. She's used to that. And that's it. Less than my 20 minutes.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
I've got
Yes,
one.
Ken.
So you mentioned Mayfield
Yes,
and there's a town going in out there.
absolutely.
Is there going to be any efforts to preserve what is left of the trail or Mayfield?
How much time do I have? Unfortunately, I was working with Elmore County on that since about 2011. And in 2012, Elmore County approved the plans for that subdivision
Mhm.
development there. They have some areas of the old buildings set aside, but things like the old dance hall,
Mhm.
it is in such bad shape, it's going to have to be torn down.
Yeah, I've been out
Yeah.
there. It is
Yeah,
scary.
It's gotten really bad lately. They don't have, in my opinion, enough land set aside. We've been trying to work with the developers and the planning and zoning people in Elmore County for probably 3 years now to try and preserve more of that area. You know, like there's a barn at the west end of the valley. There's the old rock stage station store kind of just to the west of the creek. The area in between should be kept open, but they've got it all planned for buildings and stuff. And so it's kind of hard to do anything because the developer wants to get their money out of the investment that they have.
Too bad.
So it's, in my opinion, it's sad to destroy that scenic environment that's a wintering ground for elk and has so much history. Obie Corder was the first guy to really live in that area, and he's tied to the history of that area, tied to the history of Boise, the horse races and such in the valley here. There's a lot of history there, and I hate to see it go away. Anything else?
For the byway tour, what vehicles do you guys use?
You can use family vehicle. It's a gravel, mostly gravel, but it's county roads are well maintained. And I'll take you into private property so you'll see sites you wouldn't see otherwise. There's a site out on Ditto Creek where there's a big granite pyramid of rock. The immigrants wrote their names on any big rocks like that that were next to the trail. And so you can still see some of these names. And they're starting to get pretty faded. There's another one on Bounds Creek, and you can barely make the names out on that. But the Ditto Creek one is pretty interesting. And I'll tell you the story of a massacre that I suspect happened there as well. That's one of the couple of the videos I talk about that. The Cadaver Dogs talks about that massacre as well.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
Thank you very much for having me in today. I appreciate it.
Jerry, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I also just want to, I know this was in some other things. We're looking forward to Jerry's presentation, May 16th at noon. Less about the organization and more about the Oregon, California Trail,
Yep.
here in the lobby meeting room A and B.
Thank you. Item 3, presentation, water tower nomination to the National Registry. Barb, you're up.
Nice to see everyone again. Okay. All right. Meridian Water Tower. It was nice to see everyone at our little kickoff a couple of weeks ago. And just in case I don't believe I saw you there, Heather. It's nice we met last year, I think. Yeah, yeah.
Or I believe I was at work that day. That was the big time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm here today with Elizabeth J. Cox behind me, who's going to do the update on the survey. And then also with Jeffrey Hawley, who is working with us, and he's going to be doing the architectural aspect of this particular project. And there it is. Just love the water tower. And I have these pictures up here because, of course, the reason that the water tower is going to be nominated is because it is important, of course, to the community development of Meridian. And I just had to have these two pictures up here because, you know, this was the cutting edge in 1912, what the water tower looked like. And those water towers, that water tower was also a landmark, as our 1976 tower is as well. So we are going to nominate the water tower under criterion A for community development. And why is that? It is because it is associated with Meridian's transition from the rural agricultural community to an urbanizing city. It was, of course, constructed in response to that population growth that was beginning in the late 1970s. The expanded municipal water capacity was going to support new development. This, of course, was going to enable that growth, that residential and commercial expansion. It's important because it reflects that conversion of the agricultural land to the suburban land uses. It also represents, I mean, there's a lot going on with that tower. It represents the investment in critical public infrastructure, and it also illustrates the broader patterns of late 20th century community growth in Meridian. So not only is it a landmark for the community as an icon, but it's also that historic importance that we're going to highlight in the National Register nomination. And I have these two photographs because, of course, this is Meridian in 1951 when the population was about 2,500. And just a few brief decades later, in 1981, of course, the population had boomed up to 6,658. And you can see from this aerial photo, of course, what you all are very familiar with, the development of the area. And I'm just going to go back over what those minimum standards are to be listed in the National Register of Historic Places. I feel like you all are going to be experts on this because you now have the Speedway and some other places listed in the register. First of all, they have to be 50 years or older. I'm really happy that we are working on the nomination this year because by 2027, the tower will be the 50 years old that it has to be eligible. It has to retain its historic appearance, which we now know is called integrity. It has to be historically important or significant at the local, state, or national level under one of the 4 criteria. Their criteria are, of course, criterion A, the association with events that have made a significant contribution to the broad patterns of history. Agriculture, mining, community planning, and homesteading are examples. Criterion B, associated with the productive lives of persons significant to our past, and I have not actually done many properties that fall under that criterion. Criterion C, embodiment of a distinctive characteristic of a type, period, or method of construction that represents the work of a master, possesses that high artistic values, or represents a significant vernacular structure. We could actually slide the water tower under criterion C because it is an example of a dominant style of architecture for water towers. But typically, SHPO only wants you really to look at one criterion. Just, you know, you don't really have to do the two. So we're going to go with criterion A. And then criterion D is really for archaeological sites, properties that have yielded or may likely to yield information important in pre-contact or post-contact. So we're getting everything under that criterion A. And I was happy that Dennis Teller was at the kickoff meeting, and he turned out after we left, he checked his office. This was the copy of the plans that were inside the water tower. And he did not think that the city had them, but when he went back to his office, he found they have the original plans. So he's going to make a copy for us, and we're planning to come back to get that copy and take a look at the records they have in the city offices. And of course, again, I think this is interesting because it is JUB that did the original plans, and of course, they're still around today. What type of water tower is this? Well, it's a single pedestal spheroid tank. So it's got that single central column that supports the tank. The bulbous spherical tank shape called a spheroid or ellipsoidal tank. I'm learning all kinds of new terms. The flared base at the bottom of the pedestal is for stability, and the enclosed support structure holds everything together, unlike those older multi-leg towers like were here before. The towers were built commonly between the 1950s and the 1980s. And of course, they're associated with the modern municipal water systems. And they were often built during periods of suburban expansion and infrastructure upgrades. And Jeffrey and I have started working on our background history. And one of the things I think is interesting is that, of course, just as change occurs, now the way that the water is being stored is changing. And of course, Mr. Teller told us about that a little bit when we were there for our kickoff meeting. So I'm happy that we're going to have this opportunity to work on this specific water tower. And of course, I have to have this one here because of the Speedway to talk a little bit about integrity. So of course, one of the things we have to look at is whether or not the water tower retains its integrity. And fortunately, it does. It remains in the same location. It retains its integrity of design, materials, and workmanship. So all in all, it continues to convey its historic function as a municipal infrastructure, and it remains a prominent visual feature of the community. So all of those things are really strong and will help us make a strong argument for why it should be listed in the register. We're actually, I'm happy to say, sticking to our schedule. So we had our kickoff meeting in February. In March, actually, we did our field survey, photography, and we have begun our research. Over the next 2 months, we'll be working on the nomination narrative. And then the next time I'll see you all will be May 28th, when we're going to give you an update on the project. And of course, you'll have an interim report at that time. And then we'll spend the summer months working on getting the nomination completed. So I'm happy to be on track. I'm happy it's one structure as opposed to multiple. And I think we're looking forward to working on this project. I'm going to forward the slide for Elizabeth. And I'm trying to remember the last time Elizabeth was here. It's been a while because we've been doing mainly Zoom meetings, but Elizabeth was really the mastermind behind the survey that we just completed. So I will turn it over to Elizabeth.
Show me how you move. Oh,
Right there.
that's too easy. Hi, I'm Elizabeth J. Cox. I'm Barbara's business partner, and we also happen to be sisters, which we mentioned just because people get us mixed up by our voice. Anyway, thank you for having us come in today. We did this project starting in 2022, which is 4 years ago. And it was a 2-phase survey of over 200 buildings in the core of Meridian, in case you were not on the board at that time or are unfamiliar with what we were doing. It was a big area, and we split it into a 2-year survey because it was just too big to do in 1 year. We completed the survey in the summer of 2023 and entered all the information about the survey buildings into the former database that the Idaho Historical Society had for recording historic buildings. It was an Microsoft Access-based database. It just so happens that right after we finished the survey and got the information transferred to SHPO, there was a huge change and they quit using that database. They phased into the new one, which is the Idaho Cultural Resources Inventory System. And it's a web-based database. It's much better. Part of the problem with Access was that they were beginning to be concerned about entering too much information and having the database crash and losing thousands of records that have been accumulated since the 1970s when we started doing this kind of work. So with that transition, it affected our survey because it had not yet been reviewed. And when they made the transition to the new system, everything that they had before had to be put in, including our survey, which was one of the last projects completed before the change to ICRIS. This is a complicated story, not very interesting unless you happen to be interested in tedious details. But at any rate, the point of our survey or our project this year was to update the records to fit the ICRIS system for the records that we had created in Access. So what happened is SHPO looked at the report and looked at the database and gave us 60 comments to answer. And most of it was just updating the information so it fit the new system, ICRIS. So I just have a few slides because I wanted to tell you a few things about what we learned when we did the survey and what we did to accommodate SHPO. So first of all, I have to think back, and excuse me for being a little disorganized, but most of their comments had to do with making the information fit the new system. And in 2022 and 2023, we did not include modern buildings that were built after at that time, 72. And we did not include previously recorded buildings that had been found ineligible. Well, the SHPO staff now would like to have that information to make the survey as complete as possible. They're not quite so worried about running out of space at this point. I don't think they have infinite space, but they have plenty for what they're doing at the moment. So the time that we spent on the survey was really manipulating the information to fit the new system and beefing up some of the descriptions, which is what they asked us to do also. So that's what we've been doing since December, I think. We've just finished. And of course, there are a few glitches in the system. Sometimes when you're uploading things in iChris, you have to learn how to do it a little different way. So it took us, I think, about 3 or 4 weeks longer than we expected, but we are just about done. And SHPO has been looking at what we're doing, and I think they'll be fine with what we've done. I don't have many slides, but I wanted to talk about some of the things that we are doing. So I don't know how many of you were on the board at the time we did this project, but we came up with 2 small historic districts that might possibly be eligible to the National Register. One was the North Main Street District, which runs from Carlton Avenue, not quite to Fairview. We had the east side of the street. One of the requests you all made was, can we include a house that's on the other side of the street? And we've done that. We've extended the boundary to include the Avest building, which is a nice little Tudor Revival minimum traditional building. And she showed me how to do this. Let's see if I move this survey. There it is. So this building will be included in the boundary. It'll be the only building on that side of the street because the others, the reason we didn't include many of them at all was because they've been altered or they're new buildings. Like there's a very nice, on the corner, there's a nice craftsman style building that's actually a 2002 building. So, it kind of fooled us at first. But the little clinker brick, minimal traditional with Tudor Revival element cottage that is the Avest building is eligible as a contributing element to that historic district. So we've added that. And SHPO hasn't been averse to it, so we'll hope that that stays. Now let's see. Then the other request was, you wondered if the little East Idaho Avenue district, which is basically 5 buildings, could be expanded to include the Masonic Hall and the church. The period of significance for that small 5-building historic district is 1900 to 1915. That's when those buildings were built. And we thought it was a nice little district because so much of the buildings of that era are now gone. I mean, Meridian, when you look around, there's been a lot of change in downtown Meridian, and those early buildings have pretty much disappeared. So that little block with those 5 buildings represents an early commercial district. Unfortunately, the Masonic Hall and the church, the Methodist Church, which is next door, are both 20th century buildings. So they don't fit into the historic district, but I think they may be eligible to the National Register on their own. So the Masonic Hall, of course, was built in the 1950s. It is an architect designed building. The architect was Harold Allen. I'm not going to remember his name. I didn't write it down. But it was designed by an architect. The Masons, of course, like many of the fraternal lodges, did a lot of the work themselves to build it. So it took them a little while. The cornerstone was laid in 1956. The building was finished the following fall in 1957. And it's been in use as a Masonic Hall ever since. So it's a nice 1950s building. And I think it is eligible. And you know what it looks like. It's a pretty nice building. The other building, the church, is very interesting to me. And that whole block has been the Methodist church block for quite a while, over 100 years. The original church that was architect designed was designed by Turtelot and Hummel. And interestingly enough, this 1974 church was built by a partner in that same firm many years later. His name was Chet Schauber,
Mhm.
and I believe he was a partner in the 1970s. So this nice 1974 church building may be eligible on its own. It's part of the complex they have there. So right next door, this concrete building is the 1954 education building. And behind it, you can see their 2002 Family Life Center. So they make great use of that spot. But the church built in 1974, we think is probably eligible. And that's what we're recommending. So we didn't want to leave them out completely, but they just didn't fit in with the little East Idaho Avenue Historic District. Yeah, that's the other picture of the church. So that's a brief overview of what our project was and what we've done to bring it up to speed. And we hope to have the review done by SHPO in the next week or two so that we can give you the final answer on what they say about our choices and what we've done to update the survey. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. Elizabeth, thank you so much. So, yeah, appreciate everything. So
Well, thank you for the opportunity. We love working on projects like this.
we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go on to old business. Planning for National Historic Preservation Month activities in May. So, Commissioner Wilson is not here, but I'll let Ms. Schiffler go over some points that we're going to talk about. So,
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I've been working with Greg a bit to, at our last meeting, talked about having this event here at City Hall, but I suggested the Hidden Gem events as a more like public friendly, because I don't know how many people from this is a fairly formidable looking venue for that. So Hidden Gem events is available. It's the day after we had discussed on Saturday, May 2nd. And looking at a little bit more 4:30 to 6:30 timeframe. Initially, we were looking at the morning, but there is also a very interesting event at the, I think it was at the penitentiary, and it's about the initial Meridian line, initial point, which is along Meridian Road. So some people might be interested in that, and we wanted to push it a little more towards the later part of the day. Chairman Johnston is volunteered to be the moderator, and there are 3 people that Greg had talked to, Neva Timmons, Norman Young, and Brent Alger. Let's see. I realize that this logo is from 2023. They haven't updated the logo yet, so I need to, that's why this is a draft. But looking for, hopefully you are available on this date to come and be a part of this. The recording part of this, Greg's working on with the CWI with some students. And if that doesn't work out, we have a video intern for the city that might be available. So we're confident we can get some video, audio recording for that part of it.
Couple of things I need to talk about. Do we need to approve an expenditure for?
Yes, and I do have that on the agenda. So it's a $250 venue rental fee. So looking for approval of the rental fee from the commission.
So before we get done, we need to do that. And also going through everything, we'll probably need help at the end for cleanup and tear down of the venue, make sure tables are done, taken care of, stuff like that. So we'll probably need everybody there to do all that.
And set up,
And set
set
up.
up for the
Sorry,
chairs.
yeah,
Yeah,
set
so if
up
you
for
could
the
get there
chairs.
at a little before 4 would be good.
So
Is this going to be an outside event?
maybe, depends on weather. If it's nice, it'll be outside. If it's stormy, windy, then she said we can set up inside.
Okay.
So it just depends on how many people we want to try and get in, stuff like that. So weather dependent is whether it can be inside or outside. But do we have a motion, or can I get a motion to approve a $250 expenditure to Hidden Gems events for rental fee for our oral discussion panels?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the $250 necessary for the Hidden Gems rental fee for the Saturday, May 2nd event for oral history panel.
And I second that.
Motion by Commissioner Free, second by Commissioner Giddings for expenditure of $250 to Hidden Gems events for our oral history panel. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. Anything else we want to talk about that day?
Schaefer, may we request to have the video intern be there, if he's available? I saw his work. He did some work for MIAC and he's very excellent. He produced a video for us. That was fantastic. If he's available, that'd be nice.
Yes.
We'll do a history walk on Saturday, May 16th, 10 o'clock. So that's everybody's calendars. I hope everybody's got their calendars updated. And then also on the 16th, we will have the presentation on Oregon, California trails. So that'll be conference room here and meeting rooms, I should say. So any questions about what our plans are for Preservation Month?
Are we gonna put sandwich boards out again?
That
around
was going to be
town?
my next question. So, I don't know how much, I like doing it. I think we get some response. It doesn't take long to set stuff up and tear it down for the week that we do this. Ms. Schiffler, are those sandwich boards still available to be put out if we want to?
Yes, I do have to get, because they get used for other
Right.
events and things through. So I do need a little bit of a heads up so I can put them together, but I can get them ready.
Okay. Let's look at a calendar real quick. If we go to May. So if we could get those sandwich boards out, like May 13th, which is a Wednesday, and leave them up through the weekend, tear them down like the 18th or 19th. Would that work for everybody?
I'm gonna be out of town then. I'd be back by the 18th.
Okay.
Help pick them up.
I'm not quite sure what you're talking about.
We have some just sandwich boards, little A-frame boards. We have signs to put on them. So we put them out in front of all the buildings. So, we'll put them out by, the vault and all those buildings downtown, out by in front of Zamzow, stuff like that. It's just as people, if they're walking, they'll see stuff and they get a little bit of interest in what's going on. So it's just a little information for people doing their self-guided tours to do that.
I think there's about 8 of them,
8 or 9.
8 or 9, yeah.
Yeah.
So you need help setting them up?
Set him up.
Picking them up?
Yeah, so Ms. Schiffler's got a big wagon. We just haul them out in a wagon, walk around, put them up, bring the wagon back, and then on the 18th and 19th, we'll just come out and get the wagon, go pick everything up and bring them back.
I should be able to do.
Okay. As we get closer next month, we'll just formalize that, make sure people are available to do that. So, okay. Thank you. We'll go on to.
Mr. Chair and
Oh,
Commissioners.
Schiffler.
So this is still a little bit in the planning stages, so I didn't put this on the agenda, but looks like it's moving forward. The city is also, during Preservation Month, planning a media day for the water tower, which will go out in a media release and it'll be really media focused, like trying to get some of the news channels and things out there. That'll be on May 20th at 10 a.m. I think that's Tuesday. So if you can mark your calendar, it might be nice to have some commissioners present for that as well. And hopefully someone from TAG maybe could be there too.
May 20th?
May 20th.
May 20th, this is still a touch tentative, but that's the date we have right now.
Okay, yeah, if you can, when soon you know that date, definitely let us know and we'll make sure that at least part of the commission's there. So, thank you. Then we'll go on to item 6, training opportunities, 2026 Commission Assistance and Mentoring Program Training. Partnership by Coeur d'Alene Historic Preservation Commission and National Alliance of Preservation Commissions. May 22nd from 9 to 4. Commissioner Freeze, you did some pricing for us, so you let us know what you found out.
Well, the total that I figured came to about $640. A big part of that though is travel, which right now I figured, since I did this like a week or so ago, I
Yeah.
figured $4 a gallon for gas and what my car mileage was, and who knows what it's going to be. Well, I mean, it could be up higher or
You did
lower.
4 gallons to the mile?
No, it was $4
I know.
to gallon. Yeah, yeah. I figured 600 miles, and basically I'd take my truck and I get like 20 miles a gallon average. So,
No.
but I'm sure. Yeah. Then on Cassandra's advice, I added, what was it like? The 20% unplanned expenses, which I figured might be gas.
That's the gas.
Yeah.
And I would like to go to this conference too, along with Commissioner Freeze. So I know I've got a daughter who lives up north, so I probably won't I'll have the hotel and maybe some meals, but not that much mileage involved. I'll have to figure that one out. So we'll have lodging for 2 people, some meals for 2 people. When do you need to know definite pricing, stuff like that before we go? Do we submit after the meeting, after the conference for reimbursement?
So potentially if the commission was comfortable with the expense and doubling Ken's estimated expense for 2 people, that's well within the budget. And so you could approve that now. And that also includes that 20% sort of contingency. So you could do that now, or you could do that at the next meeting because there's still enough time. And I want to reemphasize that the city will only reimburse if there is a receipt. So be very careful to save all receipts.
I had to do a lot of traveling for the government, so I'm very familiar with keeping all receipts.
No receipts, no money. Yeah, I hear you.
Exactly.
So we can wait a month to approve this. We can just say, expenditures not to exceed $1,400 for people to go. If that's okay with the commission, whatever you'd like to do.
Mr. Chair, is anyone else interested in going, or is it just the 2 of you?
I know Commissioner Wilson was interested, but he thought maybe the chair and vice chair would be the best bet to go up to this. So.
We only allotted a certain amount of members to go.
No,
It is just more the budget expense. So
Yeah.
it could be more, but
yeah. So to attend, it doesn't cost anything because it's free, but yeah, just travel up there and back. And so. So I'm open to whatever the commission would like to do.
Yeah, the expense could be less if you carpooled.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I said, my daughter lives up there, so I'm going up early just to spend a day or 2 with her beforehand and then maybe a day afterwards. So for me, carpooling's out of the question, but
I'd be interested in going and paying for my own fuel. I mean, I'd probably just end up camping. What's it?
So maybe with all of that in mind, maybe we should put this off till next month.
that's fine. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with doing it next month. So
There's no hurry.
yeah, so we'll put this as an action item for next month to double check all this.
And I did want to I think this was in the email, but the budget line for it, the total is $1,700 is how much we have in the budget for that.
Okay.
So it might be tight to send 3, but possible.
Yeah. Action item for next month. Other dates and discussions are 2026 guided walking tours. Is coming up starting next month. So make sure everything's on your calendars. As far as elongated coin machines, I've reached out to Mr. Everts and his contributions and stuff. He will know more information from the library district next week. So hopefully in April, yeah, we'll know what the library district would like to do with possibly placing the coin machine at the library when it's done.
Well, great.
Okay, any other?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, going back to the walking tours, I just wanted to confirm, the first one will be before the next meeting, April 18th, and I have Chairman Johnston as the lead commissioner and Ken Freeze as the secondary. But then I was looking ahead to May, which is during Preservation Month, and we have Commissioner Wilson signed up as the secondary, but he's never done one before. So if there is someone available to be the lead May 16th,
Okay,
please let me know if you're available because we don't want to leave that spot open.
okay. We will make sure and get that taken care of.
Cassandra, can I ask you to send that list out again just so I can make sure it's updated on my calendar?
Yes, I can send out the link to it's a Google form. And just to note, because this did come up, that form has all of the walking tours from last year. So if you look at the tabs on the bottom, there's two little tabs. So one's for 2025 and one's for 2026. So when you open it, just make sure you're in the right year.
With that, we'll go on to reports, social media subcommittee. Pull up my notes. So on March 18th, I met with Commissioner Stewart, Daniel Yeomans, who is helping us out to go over what we can do on our subcommittee. A couple of ideas we came up with. Just talk about for posts is just some broad terms. Where is it Wednesday? Something going on? Take a picture of some little obscure building, post it and see if people can guess where it is. Trivia Tuesday, same thing, post some history, go on. We could also do the second post of a month, the week just before our walking tours, as a reminder for people for our walking tours, which I thought was a good idea. Ms. Schiffler, do you know if we still have access or can get access to the basement to all the archive material or more research?
That would be up to the library.
Okay, that's what my thought was, but we'll have to double check. Some other ideas were both to go to Main Street Market on a Saturday and also on dairy days if possible. Just go around and talk to people. Tell them who you are, get some of their ideas, ask them if you can record it or get notes. Get some, if we can get some, I don't want to say older people because that's not, I don't like that term, but people that have been around a while and get some of their memories and thoughts of the history of Meridian. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Freeze.
when there was some discussion in the past about any of these posts needing to be cleared, or how would that, I think these are all great ideas. I'm just wondering if, are we past that or we still need to get all this stuff cleared?
We still need to get it clear. We'll come
Yeah,
up with
okay.
the ideas and get our thoughts, photos, whatever. Everything still has to go through Ms. Schiffler.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you have to get it, post it, make sure it's all compliant with all city rules. So that stuff hasn't changed at all.
Okay.
Another thought was, can we do a scavenger hunt around town on some of these events? Drop ideas. So, Daniel, I'll put you on the speed bump or throw you under the bus. Did we miss anything?
No.
Okay. All right. That's all I have for that subcommittee. So any questions on that?
I like the obscure building idea. I also like the inverse of what that could be, of like buildings you see every day, but you don't know the history behind them.
Yeah. So, and that's true. You could take a picture of City Hall. And it's historic, it's not old, but where is that? See if people can guess that. Or part of the old brick that's from the old creamery out front in the building. So I think there's some good ideas we can go by with this and continue, so.
Mr. Chair, do we know about how long it's gonna take for Schiffler to review? So if we say, where is it Wednesday, would we need to plan about a week for Schiffler to get that process going, or?
Ms. Schiffler, I'll leave it to you.
So the way that I schedule social media posts, I actually use a planner app. So I schedule them well ahead of time. So I tend to really like a lot of advanced planning, that I can get it scheduled anytime and then it can go out at that time. Review is usually pretty quick, but it does take me, I do want to ask, all posts are like ready to go, because if I have to do a lot of formatting, if I have to come up with the alt text for images, because all images need to have alt text, it kind of has to be in the voice of, you don't want like a one-page document for social media, like kind of shorter blurbs, having some of the hashtags. So the more like ready to post that it is, the easier it is for me to get out.
So with that said, if we could get it to her at least a week beforehand. So,
Yeah, I would, a week is a good,
yeah,
that's a good goal.
yeah. And I have failed on that a number of times, but thank you.
I think
Would
the
it be a good
goal,
idea to just do several buildings all at the same time and then in that way you could?
I would love that.
Yeah,
you
we
You
could
could
do,
release one a week, right?
we could do a month's worth at one time.
Right.
Get them to
Right.
her beforehand, then she can work on her leisure and get them out. So I have no problem doing a month's worth at a time.
It sounds like once we get one put together and
A
the
template.
format approved, then we
Yeah.
kind of know what to do.
Yep.
Yeah. Ms. Schiffler, if you could come up maybe with a template that would cover all these things so that when you get the information, it's got all, everything's all filled in, it's all ready to go for you. Make life easier for you. Let me back up. Would that make life easier for you?
I think, I'm not sure how I would make the template, I guess. I'm just thinking through that a little bit. One of the other things that I think is kind of hard is that Facebook and Instagram, the two platforms, have very different ways
Yeah.
that they handle photos. So Instagram really wants a 4:5 ratio. And if you have, Facebook's actually better for images of like different sizes and scales and formats, because it'll post them however, but Instagram will crop everything off. And so sometimes I have to do some editing there, or sometimes I don't worry about it and it just crops out a lot of things, which is fine. This is like a long-winded answer, but I'll think about a template. The template might just be like, it might be more like a list of like, here's what.
Yeah, something,
Okay,
some
okay.
sort of guide for, so that you don't have to go back and say you're missing this or I need this is my idea.
Thank you. Yes, I'll work on that.
Okay. Our next meeting can be April 23rd, 2026. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
A second?
Motion by Commissioner Freeze, second by Commissioner Giacomo for adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. We're done, people. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hmm.